Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
G'day everyone, I am Macca19 and this is the Bigfooty Port Adelaide podcast, coming to you live on Port Fan Radio. Joining me once again this evening is Fishing Rick.
Woohoo! Port Fan Radio. Port Adelaide wins. Yay!
Finally, we get to talk about a victory.
Yay! I'm happy.
Happy days, mate.
Absolutely. I think everyone should be happy. We've got some impetus now coming into round one.
Impetus. That's a good word.
Yes. Impetus. Better than the Adelaide Cup winner, Anus Miserabalis.
Is that what it was called?
Well, I actually backed it for the win, and the only reason I backed it because I changed its name to Anus Miserabalis, so I thought it was funny, and I thought that'd be a good one to yell out while the race was on, and it was.
Good work.
So
done well.
I was yelling out during the race at Morphettville, "I love Anus."
That is certainly something I could picture you doing.
What about you, mate? How you going?
Good, buddy. Good. Happy with the result on the weekend, that's for sure. And we actually look like a footy team.
Yes, we did. And I won't say too much because I'm sure we'll talk about it shortly.
We will. Let's get into the love and hate. One thing we loved, one thing we hated about the game on the weekend. What was your love, mate?
What was my love? Well, there's a few things to love. But I'm gonna go with Atlee Jr.
Okay.
Because I really like him. He's hard. I love
He's
that.
a gun.
He's a gun. I thought all the juniors I've been really impressed with, but young Atlee, I really like. He can wear the body contact and still distribute the ball out, and he's a solid young man, and uses the ball relatively well. So he was my love for the week, and I know you've been a big fan of him over the pre-season as well.
Mate, as you know, anyone that listened to the draft podcast at the end of last year would have heard just how bullish myself and Portia were about getting this kid, and the reaction we gave when we actually drafted him. We were absolutely cock-a-hoop, and I thought he was wonderful on the weekend and showed exactly why we were pretty keen on him, to be honest. Great attack at the bowl. He was really creative with his handball. Isn't afraid to get down and dirty and cop a hit. And that effort in the third quarter on the forward flank, when he went in super hard, copped a big hit, won the ball and dished it out, was outstanding. Yeah,
and that was the moment where I went, he's going to be my love for the week after that one, because... and I mean, geez, you think we've got Ollie Wines, that's tough as nails, and you got SPP doing similar sort of stuff. It's quite exciting for an inside midfield brigade, isn't it? They're hard players.
Good to see some young players getting down and dirty and not afraid to put their head over the bowl and dishing out some big hits, which is great.
Would you pick Atlee in your round one side?
We'll probably talk about that a bit later. I think we'll have a chat about who we might think is in our round one side. I probably would. Well, I don't think they will, but I would love to see them pick him in round one. I think even if he doesn't play round one, I reckon he'll get a game by round 4.
Yep. Yeah. That was my thinking. Early. That was my thinking watching the replay as well. That if he doesn't get it at the beginning, he won't be far away.
Yep.
Yeah. And what was your love, buddy?
Mine was, look, I think if we were to survey the forum, I think a lot of people would say, either Pow Pepper or Eddie, but for me it was Youngie, Aaron Young. I don't really know what to expect from him this year and whether he's going to continue that form from last year where he kicked 37 or 38 goals, but I thought he was exceptional on the weekend, and again, he was another player that really went in hard, tackled hard, won plenty of the ball, and to finish with 2 goals as well. I really hope he can keep that form from last year going and even grow on it, because his performance on the weekend was just as good, if not better, than any game he played last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got a solid body now and he's got a strong core, and he's able to do that hip shake to shrug tackles, and obviously he's doing a lot more than that. He's strong overhead now as well, and I think he's really he's probably pushing hard, if not overtaken Angus' spot in that half-forward line, forward pocket, really, hasn't he?
Oh, for sure. It's his spot to lose, absolutely, because, Gus hasn't played a game this pre-season and don't know when he's going to play next. So, certainly Youngie's spot to it's up to him to keep his spot, basically. If he performs, he's going to keep it. There'll be a few players knocking down the door, I'm sure, but as we saw last year, when he plays well, he can be a very, very damaging player.
So do we want to give an honourable mention to Eddy for a love?
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was pretty close. Unlucky not to get a love from either of us.
Certificate of participation in the love-hate, we can give him one.
Yeah, let's give him a cert participation. I like that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your hate?
I guess probably a little bit nitpicky. I found the ruck infringements against Ryder a little bit confusing. There's no margin for error for Ruttman now. They're not allowed to jump a little bit early and tap the ball. I thought that was really good ruck work from a Ruttman, and I mean if the opposition Ruttman can do that, well, good luck to them. I just don't see how that's really blocking, and don't you think it's maybe taking a bit of the fabric of ruck work away, and they've done enough of that anyway?
Well, look, there was a lot of free kicks on the weekend. It was a bit silly, really. I don't actually mind the new ruck rules. I think it's all right. I certainly love the lack of a third man up anymore, because Ollie Wines used to do that quite a bit. I think he actually had something like 90 hit-outs last year, Ollie Wines, and I reckon about 85 of them went straight to the opposition. So I'm actually pretty happy that that rule doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not too fussed about the third man up. I think that's, at least it makes it a genuine ruck contest now. So that doesn't necessarily bother me. I was just very confused, especially with the centre bounces with, Paddy Ryder was sort of being penalised, I thought, for being a little bit more athletic than the opposition ruckman.
Yeah, quite possibly.
But I mean, I'm being nitpicky. I mean, I don't want to really bag out and hate too much this week, because I just want to savour a victory. Yeah,
well, that too. We've got an interesting note on the Spreaker chat from Portia, which is her hate is Bonner continuing to fluff bread and butter kicks. He's a long way off it, in her opinion. And
right.
I've got to say, my hate is the same thing. And I'm a huge fan of his. I was absolutely stoked we got him a couple of years ago, but for me it's Riley Bonner as well. And talk about potentially screwing yourself out of a round one spot. He's been given a lot of responsibility, and he's just not really up to it yet, I don't think. I think he will definitely get there in time, but I'm pretty concerned that he's a confidence player at the higher end of that spectrum, in that in both the last couple of games he started pretty well until he's made a mistake, and then he's just been an absolute write-off after that. And some of the skill errors he made on the weekend brought back memories of Ben Jacobs trying to kick a football, and that's not good for anybody at all.
Maybe he's just wilting a little bit under the pressure of expectation. Maybe there's the thought of, shit, I could make the round one side, and he's sort of panicking a little bit. Yeah,
because he's defending all right. It's just when he gets free and he's just not hitting his targets, kicking out on the full, just miskicking simple, straightforward kicks, which should never really happen. And as I said, I'm pretty sure he's going to become a very good player, and I just didn't expect him to be this poor with the ball, especially after how well he played in the SANFL last year. And we know how long a kick he is. But yeah, a bit disappointing, because I've got huge hopes for him.
Well, we're lucky, aren't we, that we've got a plethora of halfback flankers at the moment to choose from.
We do, that's right. But with a couple of them out of the side and probably missing round one, there's a spot there for the taking, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to fit both Bonner and Houston in the side, but at the moment you would think Houston's probably winning that battle.
Well, I'm a big fan of Houston, actually, without putting in any corny puns at this point in time. But I've been, his disposal has been excellent. Overhead, he looks pretty strong. I thought he had good hands on the weekend as well. And I'm really optimistic. Thank you of where we're going with Dan Houston. And I would be quite comfortable with the fact of him having a spot in the side above Bonner at this point in time.
You're welcome, and Bevan has also asked that question, has Houston gone past Bonner for round one? And I think at this point he probably has, because especially against Sydney, you can't afford to have someone in that defensive half of the ground that's going to turn it over every second time he gets it, which is unfortunately what's happened with Bonner in the last couple of games. He reminds me a lot of second year Jasper Pitter when he first started playing AFL level, and that's how he got the nickname Bomb Scare there for a while.
Well, look how long it took.
Obviously, exactly. Obviously, he's improved out of sight, and I would expect the same thing to happen to Riley as well.
I agree.
While you're scoffing your face there, we've got a few questions
I am so hungry.
From the Bigfooty forum. The first one is Power Max. Is it realistic to believe Eddy could be a 40-goal forward for us this year?
What do you think?
I think if he plays 22 games, he could potentially get to 40 goals. It's not out of the question. I think it would be a mighty effort if he did. I think if he could get to 30, I'd be pretty satisfied with that. 40 would be ridiculously wonderful, I think. But what's he had so far in 3 games? He's had something like 15 scoring shots in 3 games. So if he keeps up that sort of strike rate, he's going to get somewhere between 30 and 40, you would think.
How many did Aaron Young kick? 37.
37, yeah.
Can't see why not.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, at this point in time, how tall is he? 193?
Maybe a little bit shorter than that.
But
he's in the 190s.
He looks like our most natural forward at the moment.
He does. He's leading well. He's kicking well. He's marking strongly. The most impressive thing I thought about his game was he only took 3 marks, but he had 9 scoring shots. So he's getting scoring shots from maybe a little bit unconventional ways for a key forward, which I don't think is a bad thing at all.
He's going to be the benefactor of being the 6th ranked forward, most likely, in our forward line. And,
I wouldn't say 6th, but...
let's say you got Wingard, Dixon, Westhoff, Aaron Young. Those 4 automatically are going to be probably rated in front of him.
Well, Wingard's probably going to play midfield. Westhoff spends half his time down back or on a wing. I think he'll be our second target, and I think he's certainly going to be the beneficiary of people sort of getting drawn to Dixon, which should leave Eddy a little bit free, which we've seen so far in the first 3 games of the JO2 series.
Yeah, and I think that's where he's going to really benefit. He's going to get that lack of respect from the opposition, because obviously you can't respect everyone with your best defender, and so look, I think it's quite plausible that he could get to 40 goals. But then I called out Dixon to kick 60 or 70 last year, so what do I know?
Look, there was only 16 key forwards that kicked 40 goals last year, so it's not that common, I guess. It's one for each team, I guess. But if he does get there and Dixon pulls his finger out and kicks 40 or 50 as well, that's a good position to be in, I think.
Yeah, you'd think so. Well, Chad's always good for 40 as well, isn't he? So, geez, we're going to be raining goals.
Mate, bring it on.
Raining.
CT Power has asked the question, would you play Jackson Trengove in the centre square as a midfielder? He also mentioned that, especially in round 1, as we've struggled against Josh Kennedy in the past, and we've played quite a few players on him in the last few years, and they've all failed. So he might have the height to go against him and Nat Fyfe in round 2 as well.
I would still rather prefer Ollie Wines, and Ollie's a more mature player now. This is his fourth year in our system, I think. So I'd be backing in Ollie first and giving him the job, and then maybe you could pinch. I'm just going to say pinch hit. Don't know if that's the right term, but pinch tag. Maybe with Jackson here and there for 5-minute spells, but I don't know if Jackson's probably got the smarts to go with a Josh Kennedy, to be honest.
Yeah, look, he's good at following up the ball as a ruckman, but I'm not sure it would work at all if he's playing as a bona fide midfielder at stoppages.
Well, it would make our midfield very cumbersome as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, his theory was that he would start in the midfield, and then once the stoppage is over, he'd sort of move forward, and someone else would take his spot in the midfield. But he'd be doing a lot of miles doing that, I think. And I'm just not sure if he's not actually following up his own ruck work, if he's got the smarts to be a centre square midfielder.
Yeah, like I said, I'd prefer Ollie Wines. Yeah, I mean, I think Ollie. I mean, this was about the time Kennedy sort of really hit his prime, isn't it? You know, he spent 4 or 5 years with Hawthorn, really couldn't break into their side, moved to Sydney and became a premier on baller. I mean, Ollie Wines is racking up great possession counts since he started playing with us. I'd really be hoping that Ollie can now go toe to toe with someone like Josh Kennedy and really prove his value.
For sure, and I think he will. I think he'll show that in round 1. I think he's ready to go bang this year, Ollie.
Yeah, let's back in Ollie.
That's it. Christoph has asked the question: pickles, yay or nay?
Well, in what context?
Do you like
on a hamburger?
Well, do you like pickles?
Yeah, on a hamburger. Like when I used to eat Big Macs before I went my vegan vegetarianism, I didn't mind a pickle on a Big Mac. Don't know if I'd just eat a pickle direct out of jar. Maybe pickled onions. What about you? You're in the food industry and all.
Well, I'm not heaps keen on pickles, to be honest. I don't know. I don't mind the flavour. I don't like them on hamburgers. But I don't mind the actual flavour of pickles. Man, tell you what is nice: deep fried pickles.
Deep fried? Yeah. What about a jalapeno popper?
Don't like them.
Don't you? I reckon they're bloody awesome.
No.
I don't know about deep fried pickles. But you can deep fry anything. You can deep fry anything.
I deep fried a Bounty bar the other day.
Did you?
Yeah. Just a little party size one. That was interesting. Deep fried coconut and chocolate.
Is this the Macca experimentation in the fish and chip shop?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to try different things. We also deep fried a strawberry, and that was surprisingly quite nice as well.
Yeah, I think it goes with the theory that you could even deep fry a dog turd, and that would be tasty.
Look, I'm sure that's next on the list to try. Next one is from Past My Primus, which is he wants our predictions for who's going to make their debuts for Port in round 1. Right.
Well, I'm sort of backing in Atlee.
Yep.
I'm backing in Dan Houston.
Yep.
Who else is there?
Eddie. Power Pepper.
Yeah, Eddie. Nah, I'd leave Pepper out at this point in time. I think he's just a little bit inconsistent. I like what he's going to do, and I don't think he's going to be far away from playing. But I'd put him in the reserves and let him earn it a little bit more.
All right.
I think he's just a little bit more inconsistent than Atlee and Houston at this point in time.
Okay.
Is that a fair call, or you disagree?
I probably disagree, but that's your opinion. That's all right. I think Eddie's a lock. He's an absolute lock for round 1. I think Houston, if Brody and Pittard both miss, I think Houston's going to play. And I think Power Pepper will play. I think Atlee will miss out. He'll be on the emergencies list.
So you would be happy for Power Pepper to play over Atlee?
I think so, yeah.
And what do you like from Power Pepper that he's bringing to the team?
I like his pace. I like probably his pace, his aggression, his forward-thinking play. He's hitting the scoreboard. Whereas Atlee's a bit too defensive-minded, I think, at this point in time. He needs to, find a bit more of the ball free from the contest a bit and use his leg and all that sort of stuff, which is why I think he might just miss out.
Do you think Power Pepper's already intimidating players from the opposition?
I don't think so. I don't think... I don't know. Maybe. I don't think he would be... I don't think Burgoyne was intimidated. I think he just, got caught a bit. But he's certainly a powerful athlete, Power Pepper.
Isn't he?
That core strength and pace combo is crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. He'll probably trim down a couple of kilos once he's been in the system for a little bit, but he's a beast. Love him.
He is. And last question is from Hammer8. Is this the tallest port side we've had in a while?
No, I don't know. We've had some pretty tall port sides.
Yeah, I think he mentioned specifically after 2006 and certainly the quality of tolls, I would say is the best. We obviously had the Quadrangle of Doom a few years back, which was trash. And they were all pretty tall, it's got to be said. Dan Stewart was 200. John Butcher was, 197.
Mm-hmm.
Then with Schultz and Westhoff as well. Westhoff's 199 or whatever.
Yeah.
That was pretty tall. And then with Chaplin down back as well, he was always pretty tall, and Brogan in the side. So that was probably a bit taller. But I would certainly say that the quality of tolls is the best we've had probably since our premiership year, I would think.
Yeah, probably
or
a fair call.
At least on paper.
Are you including Lobe in that?
Probably not.
No?
No.
Where is Matt Lobe? What's happened to the big lobster?
I think he's just out of sorts, and it is what it is. Like, I think other players have gone past him. Obviously, Ryder's a lot more athletic, can actually win the hit-outs and certainly drop it down his own players' throats as opposed to knocking it straight to the opposition.
Can Lobe come back from this, you think?
I don't think so, no.
You think he's gone?
Not for us. Not with how we want to play football. I think it's been pretty clear the last couple of years that we struggle when he plays. Or certainly our midfield seems to struggle when he plays.
Does it make you sad?
It does a little bit, because I want to see old Port players play well. And, to have a 200cm, 27-year-old built like a tank, can run really hard, ruckman as a reserve would be very, very handy. But, to have what happened against Richmond last week happen in a regular season game, and as we saw quite a few times last year, it's just not good.
Would you choose Matt Lobe or Kane Ackland?
No. Probably still Lobe, I think.
Jeez. I was always a secret closet fan of Kane Ackland.
Yeah, I think Porsche was as well. I think he showed a lot of talent more as a forward as opposed to a ruckman, but he was just too inconsistent. Yeah. But they're probably pretty similar players, to be honest.
Yeah, that's why I thought I'd bring him out. What about Matt Lobe and Warnock from Carlton?
I remember that discussion from a few years ago.
I told everyone that. Remember
you
when
did?
I got shit canned for that suggestion?
You certainly did.
And no, I wasn't
how
far off.
the tides have turned.
Yes, remember that, people. Sometimes I do make solid predictions. Sometimes.
Mind you, Warnock's out of the AFL system, I think. But
yeah, but he's a little bit older too, I think. Anyway,
right.
I digress.
That's it. Let's get on to the review. Port played Hawthorn in Noarlunga on Sunday and came away with our first win of the pre-season, beating the Hawks by 28 points. Brett Eddy was the hero of the day with 5 goals, whilst Youngie also kicked 2. How did you see the game, mate?
Yeah, I saw it on replay on Foxtel because I had something on. And I watched it on about a 50-inch smart TV. It was beautiful. Actually, picture quality was pretty good.
Nice. Very nice.
Is that what you wanted to know?
Not really, but how did you see the performance?
Actually, I was quite happy. I guess what we were talking about from the week before was trying to see some structure, and I thought we could see a little bit better structure with the players. Obviously, I wasn't at the game, so I can't really comment being first hand there. But from what I saw on TV, we looked like we were moving the ball a lot more fluently. So I can't really tell how the intent of Hawthorn or whatever. So I can only take it on face value. But we had some great passages of play. That Eddy goal where he kicked it on the run. I think it was either in the northern end. So I think that might have been the third quarter.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that was great transition football.
Yep.
I thought we were transitioning across the ground quite well. We weren't, when we were trying to do the transition play, a lot of the times our line across that last line was more 90 degrees instead of us going back 130 or 140, which sometimes allows the defence to really push us back. So I thought that was quite solid. And I think the most important thing that I saw was our intent at the ball by all players, especially the senior players. So we were hungry to tackle, we were hungry to apply defensive pressure, and that allowed us to put pressure on the Hawthorn players, not allow them to have that time and space with their short free kicks as well. I think that we really benefited from that. So you could really see the intensity over the 4 quarters was a lot more highlighted compared to previous games.
Yeah, we certainly looked a lot better in the midfield. I thought we were hitting targets, especially with the wind as well. It was quite a blustery day, and obviously it bucketed down with rain there for a while. But I thought our skills were a lot better. The way we moved the ball was a lot better. Our forward line worked really, really well, especially the 2 tolls in tandem. Even though Dixon had no real impact, I thought some of his off-the-ball work, or even when he was sort of dropping marks or whatever, he was still sort of getting it port side, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but not only that, he was creating that vacuum of space. There was that one goal where, he led under the ball, 3 defenders followed him, and Eddie was smart enough to take the mark behind. I mean, was it a set play by Port? Who knows? But
probably not.
But at least his enthusiasm and awareness, creating awareness for defenders, was creating space for other players to maximise.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought our defence played really, really well again on the day. We kept Hawthorn to just the 9 goals, which I thought was a really good effort. They all defended really, really well. I thought Cleary had a wonderful game once again. And for me, I think he just looks ready to go bang this year.
He does.
Which I think we really need as a defensive group.
Absolutely, and I guess it also just reinforces that sometimes, we need to be patient with these players. I mean, I was probably happy a couple of years ago to probably trade Cleary out because as I said last week, I just didn't think he had that one-on-one capacity. He had the aerobic, but not the one-on-one. But he's developed that skill and he's looking solid. I mean, I'm a big fan of Logan Austin after what he did last year, but he's gonna really have to work his way back into that defensive 6.
Yeah, for sure. Now, some individual players. I guess we've already spoken a little bit about Pau Pepper, but I want to mention him again. He had 23 touches, 5 clearances and a goal, 12 contested possessions, had a play in a number of scoring attempts as well. Absolutely floored Burgoyne with that big don't argue and threw his weight around all day. It's just great to see a first-year player have that much confidence and play in such a commanding fashion, I think.
Oh, I love the memes on the Bigfooty website. I want to see his birth certificate. I mean, he does play like a mature player, and he's got the body of a mature player. I mean, as I said, I just thought, the week before he probably didn't impact the game as much, but you're right. I mean, his influence is in this game anyway was amazing, and I love what he's doing, and he's using the ball relatively well, and he seems to be reasonably smart as well with his ball use. He's not burning every single disposal that he's got, such as what we're talking about Bonner. So, yeah. I mean, if I'm right and wrong and you're right, and he gets picked over Atlee, I mean, I'm not going to be crying in my Weet-Bix bowl over it, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. The only downside was 8 frees against, which is a bit ridiculous, but I mean, they all came in sort of different fashions. I think there was a throw, there was running too far, there was a holding the ball, there was too high. He pretty much pulled out every free kick in the book, I think.
Yeah, but I guess with a player that's got a bit more enthusiasm for the body and attack of the body and aggression, you're probably going to give away a few more. And I guess as his adrenaline settles down to the top end game, you'd hope that he might wear that off. I mean, come the full season, giving away 8 free kicks every game might cost us a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he'll do that again, but I guess his enthusiasm got a bit better of him a couple of times there. But
I just really hope that he runs through Luke Hodge in a season proper game. That would just make me happy.
That would be nice.
And I don't even care if he gets games for it.
Yeah. How did you see Charlie Dixon's game?
Well, I mean, I liked his effort. It concerns me the lack of goals, but I thought he had some strong defensive pressure at times as well. He was, we were asking for him to lead, and he was leading. And like you said, he positioned the ball. He didn't mark it, but he still positioned the ball for the Crummers to sort of get the best angle for shots at goal. And so it was serviceable. Was it a $600,000 a year player sort of game? Maybe not, but he also looked like he rolled his ankle a little bit very early on in the game, which was no fault of his own or his ankles. It was just unlucky that he trod on the Hawthorn player's leg, but obviously that might have impacted his performance a little bit as well.
Look, some of his kicking was atrocious. That shot on goal was terrible, and look, once again, I think he broke free and dropped a couple of uncontested marks. And look, to be honest, he's probably the worst uncontested mark of a key forward I think I've ever seen play the game. To be honest, I'm just not sure what he's doing wrong, whether he just needs to have softer hands or what it is where his hands are positioned. But we all know his contested marking's really good, but you got to get the bread and butter right, mate. And that's
maybe
that's
he thinks
the real
too
problem.
much.
Well, maybe he does, but in all honesty and realistically, there's not a whole lot separating his output from John Butcher's at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a fair call. He just looks a little bit more conventional. But I wonder if he had a painkiller, maybe that's affecting his kicking as well, though. Not his uncontested marking, but his kicking.
It might be, but that shouldn't be an excuse for the last 15 months of performance either with his kicking. So
yeah, I just don't understand how the club can't rectify this with certain players. We're a professional sporting organisation. We should be able to pump in resources to assist players that have these sort of problems.
Are you concerned with his form?
Oh, not really. Not yet.
Okay.
I'd still have him in the side. I mean, who else are we going to have in there? Frampton?
Well, probably not Frampton. I think you'd probably just... Well, I don't know. We're kind of in that situation where he's just got to play, but he needs to perform.
No, of course he does.
I think
Especially
in all competitions he's kicked, something like... I don't even know. Something like 6 goals in the last 14 games or something. It's, for a $600,000 key forward, got to do better than that.
Maybe we're not revealing our hand with Charlie before the season proper. Maybe there's an ulterior motive.
Yeah, don't know about that. Carl Amon, I thought he was really good again on the weekend. How have you seen, or how did you see his game and also his pre-season as a whole?
Oh man, I love the forehead. I reckon he's turning into a really, really good player. Jacko, when I spoke to him before the pre-season game, said to me that Carl is burning up the training track, and I've been impressed with all 3 of his practice games, and he's looking like a really mature, solid player now, and I wish him very well. Yeah,
I think he's actually been the player of the pre-season for us, to be honest. I think
I saw that
good.
post, and I think that's a fair call. He's been reliable. He's still got that outside pace as well. So
yeah,
I think was it you that said if you'd be happy with him as our 3rd outside player behind White and Pollock?
I didn't say that, but
someone said that.
Well, certainly behind Pollock. Not sure about White, but
I think the disclaimer is a fit White.
Yeah. Look, I thought he was wonderful, and as you said, he's using his pace. I think the best part is that he's now putting his body on the line every time he's near it. He's throwing himself in and not afraid to get hurt a little bit, and he is actually winning a lot of those sort of contested bowls as well. He's kicking goals. He's using his pace. He's using it well when he gets it. Look, he's been almost there, and I think this year could be the year where he does become a really consistent AFL performer.
The year of Carl. I like it. Yeah, I hope so. Like you said earlier, we want every player to succeed, and the club's invested a fair bit of time into him now, so it'd be great to see him come on and be a first 22 player.
No doubt. Speaking of the player you just mentioned as well, Matty White, I thought he looked absolutely out of sorts, could barely raise a gallop, and pretty much didn't get anywhere near the ball at all.
He better not be playing round 1. That's all I say.
Well, that was my next question, is how often do you expect him to grace Adelaide Oval and beyond this year?
Well, depending on form, not for the first 6 games, that's for sure. I really hope the club or the coaching staff reward the young players that have played well, and a lot of them have played well, and I think we need to these senior guys like Angus Mumphreys and Matty White that are coming from suspension or injury, even Broadbent to a lesser extent, they have to earn their spot back in the side. They've relinquished it for whatever reason, and if these young boys are playing well enough, they deserve to keep their spot, and I just hope we're not picking again on reputation. I really hope so.
The thing that concerns me is his lack of pace. It's almost like I think he's probably going to play a different role if he does get games at AFL level. I reckon we're going to try and turn him into more of a small forward as opposed to a running wingman. I think he's probably lost that pace for good that he had a few years ago and earlier in his career. The fact that he keeps sort of pinging hamstrings and all that sort of stuff is a concern. He hasn't been sort of injury-free for a long time now. So I think if we're going to try and play him, I think it's going to be either in a forward pocket or a forward flank, which is why we're likely to push Wingard further up the ground, I think. The other concern is that I definitely don't think he should be playing round one, but with Impey out of the side, with Need not overly playing all that well either, with Cracker out of the side, maybe they might think that experience might be a bit handy.
I would. I'd rather play a proper forward than try and reposition Matty White to start with. But look, I think, as we discussed, SPP and Atley, I'd rather play them through the midfield in round one and have Chad maybe play more permanent forward like he normally does.
Yeah.
And rotate through the midfield than persist with playing a unprepared Matt White just for the sake of it. That's how I would look at it. Because our midfield depth is looking pretty solid with Ebert, Boak, Gray to come back. Even if Broadbent's fit, you can probably argue to bring, because Broadbent paid to play the first trial game, didn't he?
He might have played the one at Alberton.
Yeah,
but he hasn't.
That's
played
what
since.
I'm thinking. Yeah. But he played that game, so I'd rather play him and run him through the midfield, and run Hamish a little bit through the midfield, and play Chad forward than play Matty White at this point in time.
For sure. Portia has sent through a message about Amon. She thinks that he would be ideal for slingshot. Will be interesting to see how he goes on wetter tracks or against a focused clog. Which is probably a fair point, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how he goes.
Well, Portia fought the fight for Carl last year, didn't she? She stood up for him, and he's repaying her faith.
Absolutely.
Good old Carl. I'm sure he listens to Port Fan Radio too.
Oh, I bet he does, yeah. I'm sure they all
Of course.
do. Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Paddy Ryder, huge game. 12 touches, 7 marks, 35 hit-outs and a goal. Was probably my best on ground, I think. And that's the Paddy that we really want to see this year.
What about I saw someone posted up that he had 28% hit-outs to advantage or something.
Which is pretty good.
That's huge.
Yeah.
What's the average? 5% hit-outs to advantage?
Oh, no, it's like 20.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I'm sure someone said 5%, but his hit-outs to advantage were amazing, and he's such an athletic guy, and that's what we were hoping from Paddy as a ruckman, and look, I'm just hoping he can string that through for the whole season, and hopefully he stays injury free and he can keep his fitness base up, and but you wouldn't suspect at this point in time that he's missed a year of football, would you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
So I'm very optimistic for Paddy and where he's going, and I guess it shows there's a difference between missing a year of footy from suspension compared to a year of footy from injury. So he's been, I know it's not the same as match fitness, but he's obviously been able to keep some simulated conditioning to keep himself in reasonable condition. And who knows, having that year off might help prolong his career a little bit as well.
For sure. So who were your best 5 players on the ground, mate?
Don't do that for me. That's your territory. I put Brett Eddy up there.
Yep.
I thought Brad played a really good game. Aaron Young, I'm not going to put him in 1 to 5. I'll just spread my love. I put Eddie in there. I thought, great game. Aaron Young, great game. SPP, fantastic game. There's 4. I don't know who else was there. Tom Cleary. There's my 5th. And I guess as I think who was it? Finbar posted out. What a surprise when our senior players step up. Yep. What a difference that makes to the whole playing group. Now, we really need our senior players to step up like that every week. We can't have them drifting in and out, because if they do, we're going to get pantsed once again. They need to step up, and we've been a bit dirty on them over the last couple of years that they've flaked in and out of games and performances. So, we've got to set the benchmark high for those guys, and if not, they've got to feel the wrath of the selection table, as far as I'm concerned. But that's my top 5.
Yep, sounds good to me.
What about yours?
Ryder was best on ground for me. I thought Ebert was great as well. That was by far his best game of the pre-season. He's been pretty poor before that, but it was great to see him back to his best, and to getting a lot of the ball and tackling hard and winning a lot of inside ball as well. He was one of our prime movers. As I mentioned earlier, Youngie was absolutely fantastic. That was his best game. Brett Eddy with the 5 goals in the second half. I mean, he just looked really good and very, very confident, especially playing down there at his old home ground. I thought Pal Pepper was right up there as well. Loved what he did, and also Ollie Wines. I thought he was really good and has had a super consistent pre-season.
What about the supporters' lack of faith in Boki at the moment? What do you think the go there is?
Well, he got that big corky at the start of the game, and he tried to run through it and probably couldn't. He only had 40% time on ground, so I don't know. I thought he was pretty good in the first 2 weeks.
I thought so too.
Pretty good football.
Are the natives being a little bit harsh on Travis?
On the weekend, and that was because he got injured. So
the natives being a bit harsh, a bit brutal.
Oh, I think so, but I think we've also got high expectations for our captain, and we know how good he can be. We know how crucial he was through 2013 and 14, and his 15 was pretty good as well. Last year he probably dropped back a little bit, but look, if he could get anywhere near his best again, that's certainly a very, very good thing for Port Adelaide.
Absolutely, I still have faith.
Oh, so do I. I think he's going to have a great year and will be in our top 5 players probably in the best and fairest again.
I'm sure he will be.
Anything
so what are we talking about now? Hey?
Anything else you want to add?
No, not really. My pasta's not too bad.
What sort of pasta?
Well, because I was trying to make it before the podcast started, but I ran out of time. So it's a chili pesto pasta with a bit of zucchini and mushroom.
Okay.
Trying to recarburate after my run.
There we go.
Yeah. What about you? Fish and chips?
Not fish and chips, mate. No, I don't eat fish and chips every day. Only every second day.
Just deep fried bounties.
Yeah, deep fried bounty bars. That's it. I guess the other thing to talk about quickly is the Magpies had their first trial game on the weekend.
Yep.
And beat North Adelaide pretty convincingly by 88 points, I think. Luke Reynolds kicked 3 goals. It was good to see Billy Frampton, Aidan Johnson, and also Todd Marshall kicked 2 as well.
And I heard Will Snelling was like the player of the century or something.
Not sure about Will Snelling, but Willem Drew, I think, was judged best on ground, which is great signs for someone so young.
Someone was posting up on the forum that Snelling was a beast.
Well, he could well have been. He could well have been. It would be good if the club could put up some highlights or something. That'd be great.
Hey, there was a player, I guess, that's a little bit topical for me, is Sam Gray. I know I'm going back now, but where's he at? Do you think is he in our first 22?
I think at the moment, certainly. Yeah. I think he's had an all right pre-season. Probably not been amongst our sort of best, but by far from our worst, I think. He's been fairly consistent. It looks like he's been playing a little bit of a different role, mostly up forward, sort of on a forward flank, as opposed to sort of bona fide midfield, which does scare me a little bit because we know that, history shows that in the past he's struggled to play that position at AFL level before, and that he really does need to be sort of in the guts and on a wing a bit more. But I guess we'll have to wait and see if that's the sort of role that he's going to get this year, or if it was just sort of filling in those sort of spots in the pre-season.
I guess I'm just having trouble with him because I've sort of got this preconceived line through his name after the last couple of years where I just don't think he's going to step up enough, and so I guess I've maybe lost a little bit of objectivity with him, and so every time I watch him, I'm just a little bit on the cynical side, but. I just feel like he's one of those sort of type of players now where if we want to go to the next level, he sort of has to be pushed out of our side. Yeah,
I think that's probably fair. And look, he might be a player that gets overrun by some of the younger guys on our list in the next sort of year or two. But at the moment, I think just his ball-winning ability and his pace is probably a little bit too crucial right now at this point in time. We'll see how that goes in the next sort of 6 months, but it would be great if he could just get a bit more consistent. We know, certainly in the last 2 years, his end to the season has been exceptional. It's been the sort of first 10 to 15 weeks before that, which he's kind of struggled with. So hopefully he can stay in the side and perform from round one. Because I think whenever he plays really, really well, we certainly look a lot better side.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, I just wanted to chuck that in there.
That's all right.
Plus, I don't have much to talk about Magpies because I didn't see it.
That's it. Neither did I.
That is...
But there we go.
That is it.
That is it. Pre-season over.
Are we doing a show next week? Or is there anything really to talk about, or what's the story?
Well, we'll certainly be doing our preview, I would think, of the round one game. We might have a little break before then, but yeah.
Well, I guess that's a week and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's not this weekend. Next weekend is the first game.
Oh, yeah. So what, are we going to do maybe, a Thursday show next week?
We'll go back to our regular broadcasting schedule of Monday and Thursday, I think.
Right, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
How fast is time flying, honestly?
It is very quick. It's mid-March already. And the years are flying by at the moment.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I felt like we still had another 2 weeks before the season, but we don't.
Well, the pre-season has just flown by. It's been great, and ready for round one, and not sure how we're going to go, but hopefully we play pretty well and take it up to the Swans.
Yeah, look, we've got a tough start, and I guess it's going to be really interesting how it plays out, but. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to be optimistic because we've got a horrendous record against Sydney, and let alone in Sydney. So, but who knows? Round one. If we're going to do it, maybe round one's the one.
Well, hope so. We know that Sydney are a slow starter, so hopefully we can get a bit of a jump on them and win that game. Wouldn't it be great if we could win over there for the first time in about 48 years? We'd
be minor Premier locks. If we win that game. That's it. We'll be grand final certainties.
Well, we would at least be March premiers, I think.
Yes.
At least that's something.
When I was running tonight, I was watching the Fox sort of that new news program, and I was just thinking, you know what? It's going to be our bugbear, isn't it? We bottomed out with GWS and Gold Coast, and they stole all our picks. And maybe we're going to start rising up again, and it's going to be at the exact same time that GWS and Gold Coast, or maybe GWS, and it's going to be hard to bloody topple them, aren't they? They're just like robots.
It's going to be hard to win a premiership in the next 4 or 5 years, but you've got to give it a go, don't you?
We'll give it a go.
That's it. All right, mate. Well, I think that's it for this evening. Pleasure. And we will speak to you again in a couple of weeks' time. Speak to you then. Enjoy your deep fried bounties. Yes. And thanks to those who tuned in, especially Portia. Good to hear your hard hitting questions once again, or statements. That's it. Good stuff. All right. Until next time. Ciao, ciao. Count the pair. He's got to keep his feet. Corn's just worried him out of it. Slips the handball to Treadray. Back turn. Well done. Little give. This might be it. Corns, Treadray, Pierce,